This meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I do have a couple of announcements. On Saturday, November 19th, from 9 to 1 p.m. will be the last day the brush dump is open for the season. Grafton Celebrates the Holidays returns for its 27th year on December 4th with over 30 businesses, churches, and organizations as Frosty Stops, a craft fair, a home and business decorating contest, and other holidays happenings. View the full event brochure and sign up to enter the home and business decorating contest or gingerbread house contest at graftonrec.com. So first up tonight is a poll petition public hearing. So I can take a motion to, or I'll have the clerk read the legal notice first.
The Select Board will hold a public hearing on the request of National Grid and Verizon New England, Inc. to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along and across the following public way: Countryside Road. National Grid to install one JO pole on Countryside Road, beginning at a point approximately 180 feet west of the center line of the intersection of Carroll Road and continuing approximately 15 feet in a southern direction. Installing a 40 C2 pole for service to 4 Countryside Road. A public hearing will be held on November 15th, 2022 and take place in person in Conference Room A of the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, located at 30 Providence Road, and via Zoom starting at 7 p.m. The Zoom link will be posted in the November 15, 2022 agenda. The purpose of this hearing is to provide an opportunity for public comment. Anyone wishing to may attend in person or via Zoom. Posted to the town bulletin board as well as the Grafton News, October 27, 2022 and November 3, 2022. And I move the board vote to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. So we are now open, and we do have a representative from National Grid on Zoom. Mr. Lucier, if you have any comments you'd like to share?
No, we're just using the opportunity. The house that's requesting the new service from us, the first pole span is very long on Countryside, so I was kind of using the opportunity to put a mid-span pole in to help with some potential clearance issues we may have over there. Just make it safer all around.
Okay, thank you. And do we have anybody in attendance or anybody on Zoom that would like to make any comments? Does the board have any comments or questions? Nope. Okay.
I move the board vote to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried.
I move the board vote to approve and sign the Countryside Road poll petition by National Grid.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right. Thank you for coming in, Mr. Lucier. Up next is a public hearing for the liquor license violation for Pecorinos.
I move the board vote to open the liquor license violation hearing for Pecorino, Inc.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. So I'm going to have the chief and any officers who would like to step forward and give a statement. I'll swear you guys in first. We're going to just take turns. Yes, and then you'll have a turn right after. Okay, so do you both swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, great.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the board, thank you. So basically on Friday, August 5th, 2022, Chief Crapo had assigned me to an alcohol compliance operation within the town of Grafton. During the month of July, the chief and I had discussions, and he requested that I conduct the compliance checks of all the local licensed premises within the town of Grafton in accordance with the guidelines set by the ABCC. I've attended the training by them on alcohol compliance investigations. I've also communicated with Chief Mahoney of the ABCC prior to the investigation and advised him of our intent to conduct the operation, as well as go over any updated guidelines or recommendations by his office. And we did that also for deconfliction purposes for their agency. On July 12th, Chief Crapo published a public notification, both within the Grafton Police Department's Facebook page, as well within the local newspaper, the Grafton News, making it known his intent to combat underage drinking by conducting random compliance checks of all the local licensed liquor establishments. Myself and a few officers from the department met with a 19-year-old female subject whose identity is known to us. We did meet with her, confirmed her true date of birth, which was 3/21/03, making her 19 years of age. Felt that she was reasonably looked her age, and no efforts were made to make her look older than she appear older than her actual age. We conducted our pre-compliance guidelines with her, including a breathalyzer, which was resulted in 0.00 and no alcohol in her system, as well as no identification on her person. We did respond to all the licensed establishments within the town and conducted the operation within the same manner at each establishment. There was all but 3 of the establishments out of the 20 that were outside of our control. There was 2 establishments that are no longer functioning, that one sold. I believe the other one has been vacant for years, and the last business was only open on Sunday. We found all but 2 of the businesses in town that we checked to be in compliance with the liquor laws as outlined by the Massachusetts general laws, as well as the ABCC regulations. At approximately 17:11 hours, the underage person entered Pecorino, located at 135 Westboro Road, and attempted to purchase a bottle of wine with no identification. The undercover officer accompanied her in the store and observed one of the female clerks complete the sale without checking that or asking for identification. She paid for the alcohol, exited the store, and returned to the undercover vehicle, where she provided us with a description of the clerk. At the conclusion of the compliance check, we returned the evidence to the police station and finished the guidelines with the underage person, which also included another breath sample with negative evidence of alcohol in her system. She was dismissed for the night, and unfortunately the store had closed for the night, so Officer H.U. had returned the following business day when they were open and spoke to the manager on duty, who ultimately had the owner contact him via email, I believe.
Okay,
Those are the facts for that.
thank you. Does the board have any questions or comments so far? All right. Are you from Pecorino's? Would you like to come up and give a statement?
Yes.
Okay, come on up and I will swear you in. Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Sure. So if you want to have a seat and introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Simone Linson. I'm the owner of Pecorino at 135 Westboro Road in North Grafton, and I would like to make a statement as well. Good evening. So, unfortunately, I was out of town when this incident happened, which was a poor mistake, and I'm upset about it. Sadly, there's nothing I can do at this point. I do take full responsibility. Unfortunately, being not present, I can't comment on really what exactly happened, other than that my employee called me immediately when Officer Achu on Saturday walked into the store, asked for the manager, and I unfortunately was not present. She was very upset, of course, and it was the employee who was involved in the incident. Of course, she was very nervous, and anyways, long story short, she did contact me. I was still overseas. We had a conversation on the phone. She was trying to explain, but still very nervous on what happened, and heartbroken that happened. I'm still heartbroken now, but So we all had a meeting via phone, discussed how it came to this, and there is no excuse that it came to that. It is our first offense in 13 years, and again, it was a poor mistake. I do have to say, the responsibility on my end is that I did not call off the tasting, which on that Thursday night, I believe it was, that they came to the store. We had random casual wine tastings. My manager was out with COVID that week, and I did not call the right shots to call off the tasting, which I should have. And the staff was trying to help me out and or help the store function as normal, and that was not okay on my end to not follow through and basically not have half staff operate at a wine tasting, which I believe the incident happened during that tasting. And yeah, that's all I have to say. So it was a really poor judgment on my end to leave them with the responsibility of conducting the tasting without proper supervision. Of course, they're all of age, they're all tip certified, which we did immediately retrain, recertified all of us. I brought all the tip certifications if you needed to see them. I did also forward them to the officer, to the chief, to the town as a reaction that we took prompt action on this. We reviewed our guidelines, our rules, we updated our signage in the store, and we do check in with one another every week since then just to make sure this is not happening again, and it won't happen again. But I do take the responsibility as the owner and the ultimate manager of the establishment.
Okay. Does the board have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
do you now ID everyone who walks through the door?
Our policy is to ask for ID. We also have the signage that asks for presentation of ID if you are 30 and under, and we basically ID everyone that appears to be under 40, let's say, but we do not ID every single one. We do have a high rate of regular customers that are known to be of age or have identified before, but not to say that we rely on this, but our policy is not to ID every single one. I'm happy to implement that if you feel this is necessary.
So I'm gonna defer to the chief on that. The policy
Absolutely.
should be to ID everybody,
That's
correct?
correct. That's the law, actually, is supposed to ID everyone. There are only certain identification that's supposed to be taken, also military license, driver's license, passport. That's it. So you should be IDing everybody that you don't know. Don't try to guess what their age is. Ask for an ID. And it should be known, I think the sergeant brought it up too, but when we do these compliance checks, the only thing we look for is if they're asked for an ID. The underage person will go into an establishment, bring up a alcoholic beverage to the counter. If they're asked for ID, that's it. It's the alcoholic beverage is put down and they leave. The underage person, under no circumstances, will say, "Well, I left it in the car. Let me go get it," or try to produce a fake ID. That's why we make sure that they have nothing on their person before they go into these compliance checks. So all we're looking for is ask for an ID. That's it. If they don't ask for an ID and the person is served, then that's it. So ask for an ID.
So if you observe us not asking, let's say, a 70-year-old for an ID, would that
You
consider
can
a
take the chance.
violation?
You can take the chance. That's up to you. I'm suggesting very strongly, if you don't know the person, ask for an ID, period.
So is that something that you can update your policies so it aligns with
course.
the law? Yeah.
Of course,
Okay,
of
perfect.
course.
All right, does the board have any other questions or comments? Okay. Do you have any other comments you'd like to make?
No.
Okay. And Chief, are you all set?
Yeah,
Okay. So I can take a motion to close this hearing?
Sure. I move the board vote to close the liquor license violation hearing for Pecorino Inc.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. So now we can deliberate on what we think the course of action should be. And we do have a policy, and this is their first violation.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I think that they've obviously changed their procedures and now have added, to ID everyone, which I agree, and that's why I asked that question. I don't think that this violation, for this establishment should be any more than a warning.
I
Okay,
agree.
so a letter of reprimand is what you're suggesting?
Well,
Yeah, a warning.
yeah, warning, not reprimand.
Well, I don't know, it just, that, I'm
Reprimand
just
sounds
reading
like a
our,
little kid that's sitting on a chair, but,
But
no.
that would be consistent with what our
yeah, I'm just reading
Yeah.
the policy right now.
policy is. So I agree with that letter of reprimand,
Okay, how does,
consistent with our policy.
Madam Chair, yeah, I agree with that. I really appreciate the quality of your response, just taking accountability, not trying to explain away or make excuses or whatever. I mean,
There,
You know,
there
this-
is no excuse.
this board and the town takes it very
It's
seriously.
upsetting, yes.
Yeah,
And
so,
it was a simple, poor mistake, and it should have not happened.
Yep.
We'll make sure it won't happen again.
absolutely. So we do have a policy, I think we should just stick with it. I agree with what's been said.
so I can take a motion for a decision.
I move the board vote to send a letter of reprimand to Pecorino Inc. for their liquor license violation.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, declare the motion carried. Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
in. Up next is another public hearing. Just a quick question, do I need to swear in the officers again?
No, they've already been sworn in once, just the.
Okay, so I can take a motion to open the second liquor license violation public hearing.
I move the board vote to open the liquor license violation hearing for Hema Investments Inc., DBA New Ultramart.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, and, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, declare the motion carried. Okay, so I'll have you make a statement again.
Again, on, excuse me, on Friday, August 5th, 2022, we conducted the alcohol compliance operation within the town of Grafton, under those same guidelines that we had just outlined. At approximately 17:41 hours, the underage person entered the Ultramart located at 215 Worcester Street and attempted to purchase a six-pack of truly hard seltzer with no identification. Officer Diaz observed the female clerk as she completed the sale of the alcohol to the underage person without checking or asking for any identification. The underage person paid for the alcohol, exited the store, and she secured that alcohol in Officer Diaz's undercover vehicle. Officer Diaz provided us with a description of the clerk, who was found to be in violation of the law, and at the conclusion of the compliance checks, we returned to the store where we had made contact with the clerk, identified as Shreya Bharati. She stated several times to me that she had asked that the underage person had showed identification, nor was she asked or had any idea that she was underage. I advised her that she did not show any identification based on the facts of Officer Diaz's account, as well as knowing that she didn't have any identification on her prior to entering that store. She continued to ask for a break and said she was going to be in trouble because they had just got their full liquor license, and stated that they never sell to minors and always check for identification. She had been employed at that store for approximately 4 years and stated she was tip certified. And there was another gentleman inside the store that was not an employee, and he did not take part in the sale. So he was just, he was left out of the situation. I asked, provided the clerk with a business card and asked that she have the owner, Mr. Patel, contact me regarding the violation. I had never heard back from him since that incident.
Do we have any representatives from Ultramart that would like to come up? Okay, so I'm just going to swear you in, okay? Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the
I'm
whole?
an attorney. What does
Okay.
that mean?
Do I not swear you in?
No.
Um,
Yeah, you swear everybody in.
I feel like
Put your hand up,
I'm just gonna
please.
swear you in, okay? Just for the procedural
just do it.
purposes.
Okay.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. So you're representing Ultramart.
I'm representing Hema Investments Inc., DBA Ultramart. Again, no excuse for what happened. However, Mr. Patel is very serious with regard to the sale of alcohol. He reinforces with his employees every week. That's his standard procedure. Every week he reinforces the fact that they have to be careful with it. All employees are tips trained. The clerk who made this sale, although tips trained, took tips again on November 9th. All the other employees are going to have to be required to take it very shortly. They're going to be taking it again, even though their 3 years isn't up yet. They're taking it. Now what's been done is Mr. Patel has ordered a new program to be installed in his POS system. This stops every sale. If you come up with an alcoholic product or a tobacco product, it stops the sale, won't let you go forward unless you enter in a driver's license. And then the driver's license through the system is checked to make sure they're over 21. This stops the ability of an employee to make a mistake with regards to forgetting to do it or thinking someone's older than they should be. And this does do that, where it's everybody, no matter what your age is, because the computer doesn't look at your age. It just sees an alcohol product or a tobacco product being sold, and it stops the sale. It does work well. I have a few liquor stores myself, and we have it in ours, and it just stops it. It takes away any question of doing it.
So I have a question about that system, because there is a local establishment that has a similar system, and they keep a license behind there, and they just scan a regular license. They don't actually scan the customer's license. So what prevents that from happening?
They scan what?
They hold a license behind the counter, and they scan that for everybody.
Well, then you got a very bad system. You got a bad owner.
But as I'm saying, so it's a great system, but if it's used improperly, how good is it?
Right, and that's why your employer is very important. It sounds like that lady before me, and I know Mr. Patel. They're good owners. Their employees wouldn't do that. That's not part of the system. If you do that, same in mine, you'd be fired. You just can't do it. It's one thing to say I made a mistake. It's another thing to say I did something affirmatively to cause the mistake. I mean, that's a big difference.
Okay.
And his employees are well trained, and I think it's a mistake. And the mistake it shows can happen. As a matter of fact, when we talked about the young lady that did it, he said she's a great employee. You know, I'm almost amazed that she's the one that did it. But it can happen to anyone. But if you do this now, you have to not make a mistake. You're affirmatively ruining the system. You're doing exactly what you've been trained not to do. So that's a big difference from making a mistake.
Okay. Does the
Madam
board-
Chair?
Yes.
How often is Mr. Patel in the business?
I just need to swear you in, I think, if you're gonna speak. So come on up and I'll swear you in. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Yes. And then just have us step up to the microphone.
So you mean how many times a week I go to the business?
How often are you actually
store?
physically at the business?
I do like, I would say every day I go like once, like couple hours.
So you're there every day for 2 hours.
Around, yeah, 2 to 4 hours, depends, yeah.
Do you own any other liquor stores?
Liquor store, no.
Do you own any other and convenience stores that sell beer?
Yeah, we have a gas stations and a general merchandise store and all, yeah.
So how many of those do you have?
I have total 4 stores, yeah.
4 stores, and that they all sell alcohol?
No, only this is the one.
This is the only one? And how often are you at these other stores?
Other stores, I have a manager's kind of, so I don't go like frequently because they are a little far from me. So I have to go like, I would say 3 times a week, you know, maybe. Because this is the closest from my house, so I come like frequently over here, yeah.
Okay, so can I keep going?
Yeah.
So, I mean, this program certifying the driver's license, it sounds great.
Yeah, I have a system.
You know, but this happened in Liam, I'm sorry, I didn't get the date that this went through.
August, I believe.
Was it August? So is this new program in place right now?
Yes,
Yes.
it's in
It
place
is.
right now.
And
You
how
go to
long,
the-
and how long has it been in place?
I would say we did in September, yeah.
September?
Yeah, we have,
So, so this is your third violation.
Yeah,
I
one
would
was in
say
17, I think, and one was in 19.
16, 19, and 22.
Yeah.
So, and maybe I can just ask the chief, I don't have those. I'm not looking at those violations, but were
Yeah,
those
this one-
violations under 21 again?
Yes.
Okay, so they're all under 21. So you had 3 violations in 5 years. Am I saying it wrong?
I didn't say anything.
Okay, well, I'd like somebody to respond.
That's correct.
So 3 violations in 5 years.
Yeah, that's the reason we decided to put this system.
So it took 3 violations to put in this new program that certifies licenses.
Yes, we just recently did it. Yeah, because this system is little expensive, so now we decided it's around.
So do you realize that we can suspend your license indefinitely for these 3 violations? I mean, for this violation based on the other 2 they're already there?
It won't happen again, sir. I'm extremely sorry for
It's
that.
not what I asked. It's not the question I asked. Do you realize that we can suspend your license
Yes, sir.
because of this?
Yes, I know.
Okay. Do your people ID everyone who walks through the door?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah, now, yeah.
Except for this one? And except for the other 2?
No,
You
what
see,
happens is, it's different. It's different. If you're gonna ask the question, it's different. What happens is, there are people that might come in the store that don't necessarily buy alcohol. But this machine now stops
I'm not
everyone
talking
that
about-
buys alcohol.
not
and
talking about the machine. I'm not talking about the machine. This issue of selling to minors has happened 3 times. Despite the machine.
Well, they
It's-
didn't have the machine until after this third
Right, I
violation.
understand that, but it's happened 3 times.
That's why the machine is being put in.
Okay, but it took 3 times to do something. And the question I asked was, do you ID everyone who walks through the door?
If it's alcohol or tobacco now, yes, they have to.
Now,
Right.
so that's the big word.
That's what happened. That's the reaction you have to, one mistake is a
But
mistake.
why didn't that reaction happen in 2016?
He thought that at that time, no, 17, at that time, I think what we believed was people were being trained on a regular basis, and he believed in them. The second time, maybe that should have been a when the light bulb goes off, that's something. But again, he felt that by retraining, they would do it. Now he's realizing that doesn't work. And that's why we went to the POS system, because that stops it. It doesn't let a person make a mistake. You know, you have certain faith in your people. And I guess maybe after one you thought, hey, re-emphasize. And that's what he's been doing. And after the second one, maybe that should have been something. But this time we realize that people make mistakes. No matter how good an employee is, they can make a mistake. So the way you do it is you say, there's no mistakes any longer. This machine goes into place. You can't make a mistake. Can't make a mistake. The machine stops you. That's why you do things like this, because you realize it's serious. And you've made 2 mistakes already. This is a 3rd mistake. It's time to put something in place that'll stop it. And that's what he's done.
How many hours a day is the, I'm sorry, this is my last question, Matt. How many hours a day you open?
7 days.
No, how many hours a day?
Oh, hours, like around 14 hours.
14 hours a day, and you're there for 2 hours every day.
2 to 4 hours, yeah, depends.
Now it's 4.
No, he said 2
He
to
said
4
2.
to begin with.
Okay,
Okay, Matt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so I heard a couple things that concern me a little bit. You know, the commentary around the system being expensive. I'm sorry, but that's just not acceptable. The livelihood of this business relies on this license. And your ability to keep faith with this board in our town, that you're gonna be making sure that we don't have any underage sales.
Yeah,
It's just not acceptable, and to say that it's too expensive, that just doesn't fly with me. So I'm just gonna register that. The other thing was when you were asked, do you check everybody? You said pretty much. And again,
if it's like 50 years old and if you look, then we don't do, but now we don't have a choice, but we have to enter the age. Yeah.
so what I'm hearing is a less than completely serious reaction to what's happened, and this is the 3rd time.
I'm serious about it, but the way I'm talking is like that, but I'm a little nervous. That's why,
Well, you should be nervous.
Yeah.
So, yeah, what I want to hear is that this is going to be sorted going forward. We are never going to have another issue with this.
Yeah.
People are going to be, I don't want to hear any mitigating, it's too expensive, it's too difficult. This is too late to be putting this type of system into place, in my opinion. But, you know, it is what it is, and here we are, so.
I'd
That's all I
like
got.
to ask the chief a question.
Yes.
I'm sure you're not unfamiliar with these systems that they've put into place, I'm sure. Is there any access that you would like so that you could come check and make sure that they aren't just scanning the same license?
Well, we'd have to, we could do like a pop-in, whatever, but, it doesn't show every license that's in there.
Okay,
We've done that at another store before, and you hit the nail right on the head.
Yep.
They have a fake license or a license from somebody that sets off the, that point of sale, register, and, they're free to serve. If I could just make a comment too, I think we've acknowledged here, stipulated to the fact that this is their third violation. And it's just recently, though, that they got a full liquor license. Am I correct?
yes.
Okay, during that hearing, to give them a license, were they given a warning then also to be on the ball for serving, requesting an ID, not serving minors?
I wouldn't say an explicit warning was given.
You wouldn't say that?
I don't recall an explicit warning.
But, they've taken on a whole new boat now with not just beer and wine, but with full liquor.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, which is giving people behaviors because it doesn't take as much on certain products to, they become intoxicated. So they took on this responsibility. This was just before they were serving, and apparently it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah, so, you know, to me, clearly this isn't about the systems that are in place. This is about the culture. It's about you communicating to your employees the necessity for them to protect your business by carding people. It's pretty simple, and yet we've had repeated failures. So,
And I do communicate with my employee every week. Whenever I go, first thing I tell them is to be careful.
it's not getting through. So, whatever you've been doing hasn't been effective because we've had repeated violations. So, I don't know what you have to do, but that has to change because this cannot continue.
Do anybody have any other questions or comments?
Chief, to your point, so the full license was granted prior to this violation, is that correct?
Yeah, we just did that a couple weeks ago.
So after the violation?
No.
You said it was prior to the violation, so prior to August 5th.
Prior to this, oh, we did it before August 5th?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Do you know about when?
No, I
That's
asked
okay.
the
Thank
late and.
It's
yeah.
more important that it was before. Okay.
It was last year, March, yeah.
I think it was about a year and a half, was it,
Is it
March of
all in?
twenty-one?
I mean, 18
So
months,
I was
recent.
gonna say, I don't
17
think I
months
was on the
ago.
board.
Yeah, I don't think you were.
Oh.
Okay,
Oh, it was a different one we just did then. And I'm
correct.
confused.
That was in South Grafton. I just wanted to clarify because it was, sounded like I had been here and I wasn't. Okay.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions or comments? Okay, I can take a motion to close the hearing.
Sure. I move the board vote to close the liquor license violation hearing for Hema Investments Inc., DBA New Ultramart.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Just quickly, thank you so much for the professional work. It makes this board's job a little bit easier. We appreciate it.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
So,
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right, now.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we suspend the license of Hema Investments DBA New Ultramart 215 Worcester Street on the following days: December 4th and 5th, 11th and 12th, 19th and 20th, January 8th and 9th, January 15th and 16th, January 23rd and 24th, January 29th and 30th, and February 6th and 7th, pending ABCC ruling.
How many dates does that?
16.
Sorry, do you need a second first?
So I'll second that for discussion.
Okay.
Thanks.
So you're
Okay.
saying it's 16 dates?
16 days. And by the way, one thing I never want to do is I never want to put anybody out of business. I don't have a problem doing that if you do this again, by the way.
Why those
But-
dates?
But,
The
huh?
weekends.
Why those dates?
Those are Sundays and Mondays.
Sundays, Mondays.
Are we allowed to pick the dates like
Yes.
that?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so you want to do, and for a third violation per our policy, it's between 10 and 30 days. So you're picking 16 and you're targeting weekend dates.
It's not weekend dates, it's Sundays and Mondays.
Sorry,
Oh, Sundays and Mondays.
Right.
Okay.
that was my mistake.
Why are you leaning on Sundays and Mondays?
Because, they have a business to run, and we want them to stay in town, we want them to do the right thing here. It sounds like they did after 3 times, but there needs to be a violation. Sundays and Mondays are normally slow days in the liquor business, and I think it will make a point.
Okay. I don't know if I agree with leaning on Sundays and Mondays, but I can be swayed if I heard more. I don't know. If the point is to make a point, targeting their least busy days, is that actually making a point?
It is, they're gonna lose business. They're gonna lose business because of it, because they're a convenience store, they're not a liquor store. So it sends, as far as I'm concerned, it sends a message. It sends a message. They have made what I believe to be a great stride in putting in this, this certifying driver's license program. Again, took them 3 times to do it, but I think it sends a message.
I think it's a lot of work to make sure that they're enforcing those days when you're drawing it out that much versus
They
just ripping the Band-Aid off and saying these are the 16 days, and then it's a lot easier for, even if the law enforcement's,
Well, they have to cover up all of their liquor on all those days.
right.
No, go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
was gonna if I may, I was gonna recommend that all liquor has to be removed from the shelves. That would be the inconvenience.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of work too. So if you're talking about trying to, help the business out, having them pull out and restock over several months versus just ripping the Band-Aid off for 16 days and then restocking. I don't know. I guess for some reason I just feel partial to doing the 16 days straight out.
Yeah, I'm not in favor of that.
Okay. What's everybody else feel like?
I would prefer to just go with a set amount of days, and I was vacillating between 14 and 21 days, between 2 and 3 weeks, kind of in the middle of what our guidelines state, given that it's a third offense, and I know you got 3 days for the first 2 individually. So I'm inclined to say that we set a date and then go between 14 and 21 days from that date. If that were today, it would go through, let's say, December 3rd or thereabouts.
Okay, so you're also in favor of just doing
Correct.
straight out.
Correct.
days. Okay. Andy or Matt, where are you guys at?
And just to state, I appreciate that you've put in this new system. I am hopeful that we don't have a known business in town that is doing something nefarious with that particular system, and I'll certainly find out about that. But I do appreciate that you went to the expense of doing that. It's unfortunate that it comes, after your third offense. And I also do appreciate the chief's comments that now that you are a fully licensed liquor store, that we need to be even more cognizant of making sure that this just simply doesn't happen
Sure.
again. Thanks.
I'm sorry about that, yeah.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
So, I've been through many liquor hearings, from my time on the board. And, to go, this was a sting operation by the police department. This wasn't a person who was served alcohol, who was drunk and went out and got into a car accident or caused property damage or did something to harm someone. This was a sting operation, which works very well. And I'm absolutely think it's great that they do it. But no one was hurt here. No one was under the influence. And no one got into an accident. And I believe that if that was the case, that my motion would be to suspend the entire license.
Well, if that was the case,
So-
it'd be in a different.
So it would be. So to give them 16 days on Sundays and Mondays is I think fair to them. And, and that's what I think we should do. I don't think we should suspend it for 16 days straight.
Ray, do
I
you,
really
do you
don't.
consider that to be more punitive?
What? Yes,
The
absolutely.
straight days.
Yeah, absolutely.
Versus having to, for months, empty out the shelves and restock the shelves.
That's not our problem. Keep in mind, that's not our problem.
Neither
If
is
the- if-
closing
if-
for 16
If the
days.
chief says that they have to take down the liquor, or they have to cover the liquor, cause normally, sometimes it's just covered, but if the chief says that it has to be removed and it has to be put back in, then that's what they have to do. And that alone is a pain in the butt. But also losing 16 days of sales is, you know, based on what took place, I think it's more than fair.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard, a majority of people think the 16 days is fair. It's how do you arrange those 16 days is what we're not agreeing on. And we still have yet to hear from Matt and Andy on that.
Thanks, Sport. So my concern with that, I guess my question would be to the chief. Is there any enforcement with that? Are you guys gonna be down there on weekends checking to be sure that alcohol has been removed from the
Oh,
shelves
absolutely,
through January?
yes.
Does that provide an inconvenience for the department or something that would be a hindrance for you guys? Cause I don't wish to,
To just to walk in and look, no, we would do that, it would be logged. If I may, can I, with regard to, Ray's suggestion, we've done that in the past where we've picked out, and I've even worked with the owners, I mean, you could do it right here, it's up to you. Do they prefer the 16? Cause we're not trying to punish, we're more or less trying to re-educate.
Right.
So if you wanna do the 16 altogether, I would ask, in the past I've done that, it was left up to me, and I don't, wanna step on any toes, but I've asked, do you want it all at once, or do you want it, in, certain days of the week for however your suspension is in play?
That's fair. So if you had a choice and we landed on 16 days.
It's better like we do straight 16 because we have to move all the alcohol. It will be very hard for us. I know it will hurt our business, but every time we have to move it and put it back on the shelf, 2 days will be hard. Instead, I would won't sell for 16
But
days.
you remember to check IDs after doing all that.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
I know that is more.
You sure
most-
will.
yeah.
I would just suggest
would
that if
say
you're gonna
if you-
do 16 in a row, that we do it, if the board's
We-
okay with that, in January.
Well, right, because we have the holiday season and, right. I don't know.
So
That's fine.
I'd recommend we do a week before, during now, and a week after the holidays. So you got 2 weeks, pulling this stuff off the shelves, putting it back. We're not impacting the business, for multiple weeks during the holiday season. But I do think you're absolutely right. This can't be a light slap on the wrist kind of thing, because, we're beyond that at this point. And to the chief's point, this is a full liquor store now, and this has to be taken extremely seriously. So that'd be my recommendation. And we just work with the business to determine those 2 weeks.
Okay, so do you have a proposed amendment to the motion
Just
picking out the
withdraw
2 weeks?
If that's, if that's the way this is gonna go, and he's happy with 2 weeks, I'm amazed at that, but that's, withdraw your second, I'll withdraw my motion,
I will withdraw my second then.
and I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay, motion's been withdrawn.
If I can just, to further discussion, my feeling is fairly strong in that you were telling me that we have 3 violations today, or, well, as of August, you are here for this hearing today, and so I would want to move on this today. So if I'm doing 16 days or 20 days, I would look for it in succession immediately.
So you wouldn't wanna split up the 2 weeks?
Correct.
Okay, alright.
You what, split them up? Is that what you said?
So there was an idea of if we were gonna aim for 14 or 16 days, do 1 week now during the holiday season and 1 week after in January, because you had suggested to do both in January. And I kind of like that suggestion, but,
Today's the 15th.
Yep.
You can't impose it, I guess, before the 25th. So you could start the 25th or after the 25th.
okay. Well,
Which is what day of the week?
It's
why
Friday.
can't we do it before?
10-day appeal period.
I see,
Yeah, you can
Yep.
file this with ABCC and then the whole thing stops,
Yep.
so.
Yep.
So if that's the Friday after Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving most likely you're closed, so that would be the Friday after Thanksgiving is the 25th.
That's gonna be the slowest time after Thanksgiving for a week. And then see about a week in January. If you could do that.
That'd be my preference.
Okay.
Anne Marie feels strongly about having it contiguous, but
And then that would
Chief, do you-
run through the 11th of December, by the way.
Pardon me?
It would run through the 11th of December.
Oh, you're splitting them up, or you're doing them straight together?
That would be for
We're
the
still
16
discussing.
Oh,
consecutive days.
okay.
Okay. I'm okay with either doing first of all, let's agree, do we wanna do 16 days? Can we just pick how many days we wanna do before we pick how many, or do we wanna do 14, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks? I kinda like Anne Marie's point, 14 or 21 seems like a good, I see 16 was cause in between.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm
but-
okay with 16.
Okay, so, alright,
I think I'd like to see, 14 consecutive, beginning that, beginning the 4th, December 4th, maybe?
okay.
Or even,
Yeah, that gives them, in case for the appeals with the holidays, and we'll make sure that the 10-day buffer absolutely gets met and then starts on December 4th. I'm okay with that. And then go for 16 straight days after that,
14.
14 straight days after that. All right, does anybody else have any more discussion? I can take a motion to that effect.
Sorry, what start date did you have?
December 4th?
Okay, Sunday.
Okay, so, I move the board vote to suspend the license of, Hema Investments Inc., DBA Ultramart, for 14 days, beginning December 4th.
second.
Motion made and seconded.
Madam
Any-
Chair,
Yes.
we need to put pending an ABCC ruling on that.
Pending an ABCC ruling.
And do we need to include during that time either removing liquor off of there, or is that kind of just a known thing when a license gets suspended?
I would think you need to be explicit about that.
Okay, so can we, amend
So
the
I'll take
motion?
my second back.
Alright, so we're trying again, third time.
Alright.
Gonna nail it.
I move the board vote to suspend the liquor license for Hema Investments Inc., DBA, New Ultramart, beginning 12/4, Sunday 12/4,
4 to 18 is before.
for 14 days, pending the results of the ABCC hearing, with the requirement that alcohol be removed from the shelves.
We can cover the alcohol instead with the cloth or something instead of moving where we're going to put, because it's
No,
very
you're
tiny
not,
stuff.
you're not doing that.
So
we want-
we got a motion and a second, and the board is in discussion now. And I
Okay.
think what the chief had suggested is that they were removed off the shelves, so I'm gonna go with what the chief has recommended, to have them removed off the shelves. Is
Do we
there-
have a second?
I
That was
agree with
me.
that,
Yeah,
and I've
we have
seconded.
we have a
Yep.
motion and a second, and we're in discussion now, so it would be to have all of the liquor removed off of the shelves during those 14 days, starting on December 4th. Any further discussion?
Convenience store, right?
Okay, hearing none, all those in
Liquor,
favor?
yeah.
Aye, opposed, declare the
We
motion
have
carried.
little, cigarettes.
So do
and
we
all that
send a
before,
letter,
yeah.
so,
mean, we
outlining
just
all of that,
closed this
so they're aware? Okay,
No, we have other things. Yeah.
alright, well, thank you guys so much
Thanks for
for
coming
coming in.
Okay,
and,
thank you.
Thank you guys.
Sorry
again.
about that. Yeah, it won't happen again. Yeah.
If I may, just for the public record, because we have to do this for ABC, we will be doing more stings for the holidays. We'll be out there.
Okay, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Keep,
Chief.
keep doing them, Norm.
I wish I lived young enough, I would love to do that. It'd be so
Okay.
fun.
Yeah, it wouldn't make it. Madam Chair?
Yes,
So I did speak with, our assessor, and she was okay with pulling the traffic safety committee recommendations from the chief forward.
oh,
So
wonderful.
that the chief can be all in a row and then depart.
Oh, I really
Unless
appreciate that.
you're really into the classification here.
You're back on my Christmas card list. Getting something extra.
Oh, come on, you live for this.
Thank you.
All right,
It's
thank
like
you.
the big event of the year.
It's like the assessing Super Bowl.
Seriously. The playoffs, baby.
All right, so we will jump ahead to 4C for the Traffic Safety Committee recommendations.
Okay. Okay, the Traffic Safety Committee met on October 12th to discuss several petitions. You should have a copy of this. You want to go one at a time, or you want to go through all of them?
Yeah, why don't you go through all of them?
That's
That's
good
great.
for
Yeah.
you? Okay. All the petitioners that made requests were invited to attend the Traffic Safety Committee meeting, and some attended, some came through Zoom, so every item was discussed. The first one was a request from Melissa Couch for signs at 126 Keith Hill Road. There was discussion. She was looking for caution signs for an impaired child in the area of 126 Keith Hill. A vote was taken, motion made, seconded and passed, to place signs at her request, and basically this would be put at the discretion of DPW, where the signs would be optimum for visibility. Second request was from Lydia Berger for trucks prohibited signs at the entrance of Harris, Usher, and Hitchings Road at their intersection with Worcester Street. I think we talked about that not too long ago. Trucks are coming down Worcester Street, and for some reason GPS is telling them to turn on one of those side streets, and they're getting stuck. So after discussion, and we realize that there are businesses in that location for commercial abutters. So motion was made, seconded, approved to replace signs with no trucks with the symbol, and also trucks prohibited rocker at the bottom of the sign, to make sure that if they didn't understand one, hopefully they'll understand the other. Don't turn on the street if you got no business. So that was motion was made, seconded, and passed for that for those signs there. Request from David Libby to paint double yellow line on Stowe Road. It was discussed the fact that there is truck traffic once again on Stowe Road and George Hill Road up in that area there, and because of the width of the road, some trucks and vehicles have a tendency to sway from one side. It's not a very wide road, so he requested a yellow line be placed down the middle to hopefully keep traffic in their own lane. Motion was made, seconded, and passed for that. And that was for a single yellow line from the one-lane bridge to the intersection of Stowe and George Hill Roads. Number 4, request from Sharon Ellis to place handicap person signs near 76 to 78 Follette Street. After discussion about the proper wording, we voted to place caution handicap person or wording acceptable from the petitioner in the vicinity of 76, 78 Follette Street with consultation with DPW. They will decide, in all these cases, DPW decides where the signs would fit best to help out this situation. We had a request from Debbie Burns to reduce the speed limit on Glen Street. After discussion that included speeding vehicles, overgrown brush, which should be trimmed, or should have been trimmed by now by DPW. A vote was made to replace the existing 30-mile-per-hour sign with a 25-mile-per-hour cautionary or advisory sign, the yellow signs, because we can't really change that speed without a traffic study. So motion was made, second, approved on that. And the last one, which we talked quite a bit, review parking site limitations on South Street at the Common. When the Common was last done up, we have a crosswalk on the South Street side facing the library basically, and vehicles can park on either side of the crosswalk, in front and behind, basically at the crosswalk, which limits visibility for pedestrians that are walking in the crosswalk. So it was determined that because of the lack of parking, speeding, and poor signage, sightlines, a motion was made to eliminate one parking spot that abuts the northwest corner of the crosswalk to improve pedestrian visibility and motorist visibility. Basically, what we'd be doing with that, I think the recommendation was just to put lines, hash marks on that parking spot.
Very nice. Any questions or comments?
I just have a question. So that's on the common side, like if I'm heading towards North Street?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you're coming down South Street heading,
Yep.
say, back north, it would be the first parking spot,
Over by the common.
yeah,
Okay.
on the common side.
Yes, thanks.
Just want to say thanks to the chief. I did have a couple questions going in, but your explanations throughout answered them, so
Okay.
well done.
Awesome. And you need a motion from us, correct?
Yep. I move the board vote to approve the recommendations by the Traffic Safety Committee as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Right, and up, now we're gonna go back to 1D, so we will start the tax classification public hearing.
I move the board vote to open the FY23 tax classification public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Do you mind reading the legal notice as well?
1 second. Copy of it right here. The Grafton Select Board will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 15th, 2022 at 7 p.m. on the question of the adoption of the percentages of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of real property and personal property for the next fiscal year in accordance with Chapter 40, Section 56 of the General Laws. The meeting will be held in Conference Room A of the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center at 30 Providence Road. Remote participation will be available, and the meeting link will be posted in the November 15th agenda. At such hearing, the Board of Assessors will provide all the information and data relevant to making such determination and the fiscal effect of the available alternatives. The Commissioner of Revenue will not approve the tax rate of a town until the Select Board has held such a public hearing and until the town has adopted the percentage of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of real and personal property. If you have a question to ask or a comment to offer, but cannot participate in the public hearing, you may submit the same by emailing taoffice@grafton-ma.gov, by written letter sent via USPS, or by hand delivery to the Town Administrator Office, Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road. All must be received by November 8, 2022, close of business, posted to the Town Clerk Bulletin Board, as well as the Worcester Telegram and Gazette, October 31st and November 22nd edition. November 7th, 2022 editions.
All right, thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Tammy Kalinowski. I am the principal assessor for the town of Grafton. I am here tonight with my board member Marcia Platt and my assistant Megan Lavoie.
Welcome.
The purpose of the classification hearing is to provide information to the select board in order for them to make policy decisions in accordance with the requirements of Chapter 40, Section 56 of the Massachusetts General Laws, as amended by Chapter 200 of the Acts of 1988. Every year, at a public hearing, the select board, through the recommendation of the Board of Assessors, is empowered to determine the allocation of the local property tax to be borne by the four classes of real property and personal property for the upcoming fiscal year. In the past, the select board has chosen to have a single tax rate. However, they are legally justified in deciding to split the rate in order to reduce the residential tax or to manage the levy split. The public classification hearing allows for the select board to hear from all taxpayers in town before exercising their judgment to find the most appropriate distribution of the property tax burden. For I think it's the next one. Next slide.
It's on slide 3.
It is?
Yep.
Okay. For general information, this slide includes the fiscal year assessment dates and approval dates from the Department of Revenue.
There you go.
There it is. Okay.
Back one.
Next slide. These are the historical assessed values for the past 5 years. There is an increase in the overall value of $407,439,010. These figures are based on market sales that took place between January 1, 2020 and December 31st of 2021. This chart shows the increase in the residential values over a 5-year period. The residential class is made up of single-family homes, condominiums, 2 and 3 families, and apartments. This chart shows the increase in values over a 5-year period of commercial, industrial, and personal property. What is allowable growth? Anything subject to taxation for the first time, new articles of personal property, previously exempt property now subject to taxation for the first time, anything taxed as a separate parcel for the first time, subdivision, condominium conversions, increase in assessed valuation over the prior year due to construction activity such as in-ground pools, additions, decks, garages, or new homes. It is not part of the revaluation program market adjustments or value increases resulting from upkeep and maintenance. On the next slide, you will see a breakdown of the new growth by class. We captured $52,207,247 in new growth, which translates to new tax revenue in the amount of $881,258 for fiscal year 2023. The tax levy is the total revenue a community can raise through real and personal property. This amount is determined by town meeting vote. This shows the tax levy comparison for a 5-year period. This chart shows the historical tax levy over the past 5 years. These are our historical tax rates dating back to when Proposition 2.5 was passed. How is our tax rate determined? The tax rate is determined by taking the total levy divided by the total of the town's property value. The median or average value for a single-family home in 2022 was $448,565, multiplied by the tax rate of $1,688, equated to an average single-family tax bill of $7,572. The fiscal 2023 median or average value for a single-family home is $507,939, multiplied by the recommended tax rate of $15.71, equates to an average single-family tax bill in the amount of $7,980. This is an increase of $408 to the average single-family tax bill for fiscal 2023. This increase is reflective of our values, increase in values. Our values are determined through fair market value, which is based on sales that took place between January 1st of 2020 and December 31st of 2021. This chart shows the increase in both the value of the value and the tax bill of the single-family homes over a 10-year period of time. As you can see, our values have greatly increased over the past couple years. A factor of 1, selection of a single tax rate means that all 4 property classes will pay the same rate. This is the recommendation of the Board of Assessors. A factor of less than 1 allows the option to shift the tax burden among the classes by reducing the share of the tax levy paid to the residential property owners and shifting or increasing those taxes to commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayers through the adoption of a residential factor of less than 1. A factor of greater than 1, conversely, a factor greater than 1 may be adopted, which would have the opposite effect, reducing the share of the tax levy paid by the commercial, industrial, and personal property taxpayers and shifting or increasing those taxes onto residential property owners. This slide shows the split in the tax rates by the residential and commercial, industrial, and personal property. Although splitting the tax rate will decrease the average single-family tax bill, it will greatly increase the commercial, industrial, and personal property bills. This chart is a representation of the increase in the commercial, industrial, and personal property tax bill compared to the single-family tax bill, should the board adopt a split tax rate. By statute, the select board can grant an exemption of up to 35% of the average assessed value of residential properties used as the principal residence of the owner. Adopting a residential exemption increases the residential tax rate as the residential share of the levy must be met. A higher tax rate creates a shift within the class that reduces the taxes paid by the homeowner with moderately valued homes. Those taxes are then paid by the owner of rental properties, vacation homes, and higher valued homes. There are 16 communities that have adopted this exemption. Grafton has not adopted this exemption. Adopting the small commercial exemption shifts the tax burden up to 10% of the eligible commercial parcels to non-eligible commercial parcels and industrial parcels. Commercial parcels must be valued at no more than $1 million and have 10 or fewer full-time employees on all locations. If adopted, this exemption would shift the tax burden from the commercial properties occupied by small businesses to parcels occupied by larger commercial and industrial businesses. There are 15 communities that have adopted this exemption. Grafton has not adopted this. The open space exemption allows cities and towns to tax open space properties at a rate discounted up to 25% from the uniform tax rate. This exemption has no impact on the overall tax levy of the town or the tax levy assigned to the residential properties. This exemption has no impact on commercial, industrial, or personal property taxation. The tax dollars lost by the discount are shifted to the residential class of properties, which will include developable vacant land. Only one community in Massachusetts out of 351 communities grants an open space discount, and that is Bedford at 25%. The open space exemption should not be confused with Community Preservation Act, chapter land parcels, or the town's open space parcels. It is the recommendation of the Board of Assessors that the Select Board vote on a residential factor of 1 for fiscal year 2023, which will continue our historic single tax rate. The Select Board vote no on the residential exemption, the small commercial exemption, and the open space discount, and that the Select Board vote to authorize the Principal Assessor to electronically sign and submit the fiscal year 2023 LA5 through Department of Revenue's Gateway. Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
So does the board have any questions or comments?
Do we ever?
I mean, sometimes we do, but
Tammy did a great job.
Thank you.
Very thorough.
Yes,
Thank you.
very nice.
I'd like to just make a couple observations. That was a lot of information.
It was. It was less than last year, though.
It was less than
I
last year.
deleted a lot of
And
slides.
thank you for that. For those listening, I think what I heard was our tax rate is going down a little bit.
It's going down a lot. It's going down $1.17.
Yep. But the valuations have increased considerably. So the average tax bill to a homeowner is going to be about $400, more this year than it was last
Yes.
year. Yeah. The other important thing that I saw was just in consideration of, because periodically there's discussion of splitting the tax rate. What I saw that I thought was really important was for every little bit that you relieve homeowners from residential taxes, it's gonna significantly impact our business owners in
It
town.
is, it's not conducive to bringing commercial to the town.
Yep.
It's gonna convince people not to come here.
Got it. That's all I had. Thank you.
You're
Great.
welcome.
Excellent. All right.
Could you just speak quickly to the, I guess, the cons of adopting the residential exemption?
Sure. So this is really more common in communities that have vacation homes or rental apartments. And if you pass this, then the residential homes that are not these bear the brunt of that exemption. So if you look at some of the 16 communities, a lot of them are close to the Cape,
Or college
that are,
students,
yeah.
Brookline and, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's essentially
Or-
you pay less tax in that community for your primary residence, and the other residents that don't have someone that uses that as their primary residence pick up the slack, essentially.
Okay.
I have a random question that you may not have the answer to, and that's perfectly fine because it really has no bearing on your presentation. But I'm curious, why would Bedford offer an open space exemption at that rate? And if you don't know, that's okay. I'll be curious to find out though.
Bedford has I don't know much about it.
Yeah, that's okay.
But Bedford has a considerable amount of acres that are open for bird watching and things of that nature.
So maybe they have a very specific kind of classification that they want to retain. That's
Yeah.
fine. I just was curious if anyone knew, and if not, I'll look into it. Great, thanks.
I only know that Bedford exists because at every classification hearing in every town, they're
Yep.
the only one that has
That's the
that.
only one that has it.
It comes up.
Maybe that's why they do it.
Yeah, probably.
Because we're all saying, what's that?
Notoriety.
I believe they have a very large number of open acres that have certain designations for things. I heard once that there was bird watching.
Yeah, very
I can
No, don't
investigate
worry.
it a
I'll do
little more if
I was
you
just curious. No. No, Barry, your presentation was great. Very clear. Thank you.
All right. Well, if that's all the questions and comments, I can take some motions.
I move the board
Close, sorry.
vote to close the FY23 tax classification public hearing.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried.
Okay. I move the board vote to adopt a residential factor of 1 for FY23.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried.
I move the board vote not to move forward with the residential exemption, small commercial exemption, and open space discount.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried.
I move the board vote to authorize the principal assessor to electronically sign and submit the fiscal year 2023 LA5 through the DOR gateway.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Great. So we're just gonna sign some of that for you right
Yes.
now, so you can
So
leave
you need
with
to
it.
sign the LA5 and then just the motion vote.
All right. Send it down for you guys. Oh, and this is just
Special just for me.
tried to find a better pen, but I think I picked a purple one anyway.
Tammy, was that a picture of your house on the first slide there?
I wish. It's a beautiful house.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
You should be familiar with that house.
Why?
Well, everybody knows that house. No?
Do we?
This is on the water.
No?
It's not?
No.
South
Well,
Grafton, right?
it's in South Grafton.
Oh, okay. I know where it is.
All right,
Yeah,
pull up
there
the
you go.
house now.
I know where it is.
It just sold for $1.7 million.
Yeah, they're asking 2 million.
Oh, okay, I know the house.
It was a beautiful picture, so that's why we chose it.
It is a gorgeous picture.
It's a gorgeous house inside and out.
Can imagine.
Okay, so here is all of your paperwork.
The white is people's house.
And one of the what are the pink, like, what is that?
That's state land, Brown is federal.
Thank
yeah,
you.
federal.
Thank you for coming in,
Thank you very much.
all of you.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it's
Thanks.
interesting.
All right. So up next is no appointments, and then we're gonna do a 1-day beer and wine license for Apple Tree Arts. And I don't know if we have anybody.
We have no one on Zoom.
We can just, if anybody doesn't have any questions, we can just jump right into the motion.
I move the board vote to approve a 1-day beer and wine license for Apple Tree Arts for November 19, 2022.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Up next is the building permit fee waive for the Lions Club Delphinius Park project. We have waived similar fees in the past for this project. Does the board have any questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I can take a motion.
I move the board vote to waive building permit fees for the Lions Club Dauphinese Park project.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. We've already done the traffic safety recommendation, so we're going on to support for the Grafton Upton Railroad Christie Grant application.
Yep, so we've done this for a number of years now. This is a federal grant for the Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements Grant that Grafton Upton Railroad has been applying for. This is the siding that would be along Old Westboro Road, with the idea that they would capture the traffic that's going through Grafton 3 times before it's ready to be dropped off, and be dropped off earlier, and then limit the amount of crossings. It should in theory, it reduces the crossings.
Did you say siding?
Yes. So siding, okay, so siding is where the train would pull off to drop cars and rearrange
I see.
and all of that
Thanks.
stuff. So I watch a ton of Thomas the Train.
Okay. All right, any questions or comments at all?
I just have just a couple of things. We're gonna meet with, Grafton Upton soon?
We're gonna talk about that in a little bit. We have 2 dates to select.
Okay, because it's getting really bad down there. I guess earlier in the week, well, today's only Tuesday, so it couldn't be that early, but it was actually
You mean
last,
yesterday?
it was actually last week. I guess for 20 to 25 minutes, they had closed East Street and North Main and Waterville Street for like 25 minutes. Because they're hooking up trains and they're backing up and they're blowing their horns and they're doing all this stuff. This is getting to be a public safety issue.
Well,
And-
so what is the meeting that you're holding with them gonna do?
No, I think we need to talk to them about this. That they can't be blocking off the road for 25 minutes.
Right,
I mean, this
they're-
is.
Just to that
you
point
know.
though, isn't part of, if they got this grant, they could build another rail so that they can be doing more of that within and not be blocking the road, if they
That's
got
the idea
this.
of the Christie Grant.
Well, they're gonna cut, I know they're gonna cut down the traffic and everything like that, but
But I mean, even if they got the Christie Grant, we're years.
it's years.
Right.
You're talking probably, that won't
So I
be
just
in
wanna make
place
sure
for
that
10 years.
we're holding the same meeting. So the meeting that we're gonna be talking about shortly in December is mostly the quiet zone.
Right.
So I think.
Well,
that
this has to
if
do
we-
with the quiet zone. and
Yeah,
that's
but
why-
if we've
that's why
got,
I brought it up.
I think we should maybe separate them, because I think that blocking the road and listening to horns, while sometimes happens at the same time, are 2 different levels of problem, right? So if they are in fact blocking the road for 25 minutes, I feel that is a bigger public safety
It is.
issue than, blowing horns that is, while I'm sure irritating, not impeding the flow of public safety vehicles and traffic and everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to bring that up because it came to me again, so.
Okay.
So is that a separate, we'll talk about that when we talk about upcoming meeting dates. Let's just, approve this grant application, because what you're saying is it sounds like we might be having multiple meetings with them. If it's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's, yeah, cause I think they're 2 separate. Yes, let's do this and then
Okay.
go to that.
So does anybody have any other questions or comments about the grant application? Okay, hearing none, I can.
Andy does.
Andy.
This one, sorry. So, I think this was before the board in 2019. Is this just, slow-moving federal government with grants, or
It's
like?
it's a competitive grant process. So two things I think that always limit your competitive grant process. One is the attractiveness of your project versus other towns' projects and other cities' projects and everything else, and the availability of funds. So with the I don't know if it's the infrastructure bill or the ARPA bill. One of them carried additional funding that should help fund more projects through the Christie grant. So according to our contact at Grafton Upton Railroad, via their contact through the grant administration and the federal level, the town of Grafton would have a much higher chance of success in this grant round than they have in previous years.
Excellent.
Alright. If there are no other questions or comments, I can take a motion.
I move the board vote to approve the letter of support for the Grafton and Upton Railroad's application for a consolidated rail infrastructure and safety improvements grant and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Up next, we're going to talk about the ambulance committee charge. Did everybody have a chance to review that? And does anybody have any questions or comments about it? Ray, does this kind of align with how the committee has been?
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, and this is just because we wanted to make sure we had one papered because we couldn't, right. Okay, so if there's no questions or comments, I can take a motion.
I move the board vote to approve and sign the ambulance committee charge as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Up next, we're going to talk about setting a goals meeting date on November 29th and December 1st, which is Thursday. The library has been secured for us to pick one of those two dates from 7 to 8:45.
Gotta be kidding me.
Because we got the library, is that what you mean?
Yes.
I know, it's pretty
So-
exciting.
You put, this is goals meeting for December 2nd, Thursday in parentheses, but the 2nd
Is
is
the
Friday.
No,
And first is Thursday.
That's a typo. I made
Right.
this as I was walking out the door, so my apologies. But it's definitely December 1st.
Yep.
The Thursday is what we have secured for the library. So I know personally, I would like to see the 29th just because it's a Tuesday and we're used to meeting on Tuesdays. And Thursdays would throw me off. Not that I wouldn't come, but
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
I'm not available on the second, or
Alright.
or the first.
great.
Well, I insist that Ray be there, so 29th works for me.
Okay. And it's 29th work for you guys down here?
Well, thank you,
We
man.
need your sarcasm.
I'm disappointed that we won't be meeting on my birthday next week, but I can accept the 29th as a substitution.
Okay. Well,
And,
happy early
and,
birthday.
and Mr. Jefferson, how old are you gonna be?
I'll be 42, Mr. Mead.
Oh my God, 42. What date? Mine's
22nd.
mine's the 26th.
My mom's the 25th. Yep. Tight cluster.
Excellent. So back onto the goals meeting.
Hey, we're trying to bring some liveliness into this meeting.
Yes, I see that.
It's riveting
Yeah.
from this side of the table, I can tell you that.
All right, so everyone put in your calendars on November 29th. We will be doing our goals meeting at the library. And Evan is going to secure some kind of tech to tape it, some kind.
Oh, the tape, is that the tech you were talking about?
That is what
Okay.
you said you
The
could
tech
do,
tape.
and you said you'd been, yeah.
I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about like
So,
because I facilitate the meeting, that tech.
okay, maybe I'll reach out to Datoma then and make sure
Yes.
he can come in and film it.
That would be better.
Phenomenal, okay.
Sorry about that.
What, did you say the time?
It's 7:00.
Okay.
All right.
Are there going to be snacks?
Would you like snacks?
I think Ray would.
Can you bring snacks in the library? Oh,
I
guess
think
they have a-
I think we can. They have a side door.
Select board.
They have a kitchen in the community room.
Yeah, I just said.
I did hire a
cook
concert
girls.
pianist to play for us.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I'm very excited.
That's
for that.
great.
Yeah.
Cook some
They can-
dinner there
Yeah,
together.
get the ideas flowing.
Yeah.
Take showers.
They say
What?
classical is
Have
really
some
good.
classical music on
All
the
right, dial
piano.
back the ideas,
It'll
Matt.
be awesome.
Take showers?
Yeah, there's a shower in there.
After the massages. You know, you want to get the oil.
I want to use the whole library.
It's very true.
I don't know what's
I'll pass
happening.
in the shower.
Alright,
Sorry, that got
So
awkward.
you show up at 7:15.
You think? Just taking longer for you to get home, that's all.
I was just thinking it's snowing in Munson, just so we're all clear.
Oh,
Oh,
awesome.
is it?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's where it should snow.
Yeah, that's where it does snow. The hinterlands.
All right. So then for the next agenda item, which is upcoming meeting dates, you guys have this lovely typo riddled list of meeting dates just to get everybody for, through the holidays and planning on what days we're planning on doing just select board meetings. And then the Grafton, Upton Railroad outreach meeting that we want to do, they're available on December 8th or December 22nd. However, we have not secured a location to hold this meeting yet. So first, let's pick which of these 2 days we'd prefer, knowing that the second date might be what we do as well, depending on what's available for locations. So what does everybody prefer, the 8th or the 22nd?
Both Thursdays.
I won't be here on the 8th.
Okay,
So the 8th would be Affordable Housing Trust.
okay. So we get 2 no's for the 8th. So December 22nd, there's a drawback to that, which is it's a public outreach meeting and it's so close to the holidays. But I mean, it's just tough. We're in that time of year now. So this is their availability. And I feel like if we have to hold an additional one, we can. We just got to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I only asked for December dates.
Okay.
So if the board prefers to
Let's go to January.
go to January, then I can reach out tomorrow and secure January dates.
I would like that as well, because then we can also get a location secured as well.
I agree.
Can we
Love
get
it.
the library again?
That's asking a lot.
It's in January. We should be able to do that.
I don't know.
I know a guy.
It's true.
I'm moving Will's office up there.
Oh, excellent.
Excellent.
I thought it was a great idea.
All right, so those
Ball
December
checking.
dates are out,
Nope.
and we have our goals meeting, which is great.
Not
All right.
even entertained.
Anybody have any select board reports?
You're probably speaking to
I
Art.
think you guys attended
You
some
can if you'd like.
Eagle Scout event, right?
We did.
You want to
Yeah.
talk about it?
Do you want to talk about the Eagle Scout thing, Emery?
Sure. Yeah. So Matt and I attended Cassie Brown's Eagle Scout Court of Honor on Sunday at the Great Hall at 1 Grafton Common. So it was a lovely venue. It was very well attended, and it's a fabulous accomplishment for her. She's the second female scout in Grafton, in the town of Grafton, to achieve the Eagle Scout rank. And I kind of said, both Matt and I said some words when we were there, and that worked out well. And I did mention while we were there that my understanding, I think if it is similar to a number of years ago, about 6% of people who join scouting actually achieve the rank of scouts. And if you look up, former and current Eagle Scouts, it's a fairly impressive group of folks that she's joining, so that's great. And my only ask is that we didn't have a proclamation or some sort of a citation, and I know that we've done that in the past, and I did go to shortly after I got on the board, I went to, first name's McDonald is her last name anyways. I'm sorry, she's moved to Florida anyways, but I went to someone else's Court of Honor at the end of May, and I didn't know what the process was at the time for the board, but I don't believe there was a proclamation for that one either, so.
So there actually was.
Okay.
So that was Ellie. Will and I worked on that. I'll just cop to it. I didn't get organized enough to do one for Cassie. But we do have a template
Okay, great.
that Will and I worked on, which is just a letter of commendation. So we can definitely do that for the ones forward.
Okay, perfect. I only brought it up because I sent the email and I just didn't hear, so.
I thought that, whatever. We just,
I think that we could probably produce one for Cassie as well. I mean, it won't be presented at her court, but
Oh,
if we
for
could-
sure, that's what I'm
we could-
saying, yeah.
that'd be great.
deliver
Yeah.
that
Just
to
we
her.
need to
She
make
did
it
a lot of work.
We need to make it a kind of repeatable process because
Yeah.
so far it's just been one-off.
Yeah.
Very loose communication and but we really should be recognizing all the scouts.
I did bring an example. My son achieved Eagle rank over a decade ago, so I do have the proclamation that he received from the board. So if you guys wanted to see that afterwards, just as an example, but not to belabor that, it's a great accomplishment for Cassie and her family, and it was a really lovely event. I thought.
Yeah, it was so nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the first one I've ever been to. It's really nice.
I was disappointed not to be able to attend.
There'll be more.
I just wanted to mention something else. Coming up at our next meeting on December 6th, the bylaw review committee has asked us for comments. So that's gonna be on December 6th, and I don't wanna talking about it. I'm hoping that we can all come really prepared with any questions or comments that we wanna make, so I just wanted to, with last week's hiccup and the meetings getting combined together, it got bumped to December 6th, or else we would have been discussing it tonight, so I wanted to just plug that that's coming down as well. And Amory, did you want to mention anything about minutes or?
Thank you. Yeah, I'd asked to maybe put minutes on, and as you said, Colleen, we had just talked about it in July, but I am happy to report that I went through it all today again, which is quite arduous, but it looks much better. So we're getting there. Yeah, we are getting there. So it's better than even a couple of weeks ago when I took a peek. So there were probably like 4 or so boards that are still not great. One of them, you know, again, still going back to 2019, actually 3. And then there's just a smattering of committees that I'm not quite sure. It's difficult to ascertain from looking at the minutes and the agendas what's going on there. So I'm happy to report it's actually better. So thanks.
Excellent. All right.
Madam Chair, just one other thing.
Yes.
So the Affordable Housing Trust met. We had a couple of agenda items that I think, just like to update the board on, I guess. So things are progressing with the 25 Worcester Street RFP. That's us working with MHP, Mass Housing Partners, to put together an RFP to go out to developers to ask for proposals, basically, for developing affordable housing on that property. So we largely agreed to the terms of that RFP, so hopefully we'll be able to vote that in shortly and get that going. And there was some discussion with GSX, which came into our meeting, which was great. So we kind of just asked them, we looked at their pro forma for the, I forget what to call it, it's the Gateway development, basically where the old DPW building was. So we kind of went through, we had some discussions with them and continued that discussion. So it was a good meeting.
Very nice.
We had library building and planning last week. Not too much to update there. We're continue to wrap stuff up. The 2 major outstanding projects being the climate control unit and barn door access for some of the makers rooms, which we will be removing from any. We removed any change orders, and we won't be having the main contractor do those, but the OPM and architect have agreed to stay on and assist the town as the town now takes on those responsibilities and bids those out. So
Nice.
CIPC has met a couple times, and the town administrator came in and he reviewed his plan for the upcoming capital budget as well as the 5-year plan and reacclimated us to ClearGov. We also met with the schools and the library about their requests, so that's going in a nice direction, which I'm sure will get covered in your report as well. Maybe.
Sure. It will now.
Oh, I didn't know. I never know when we're on the same committee where it's going to get covered. But anyway, we met and we continue to do that work. So we're hoping to meet with the library capital campaign next. So we're just waiting to get that on the books.
Are there any concerns around capital plan for this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think our largest concern is we've gotten, or we've received a report from the school department about their ADA accessibility upgrades.
Yep.
Which is a daunting number, and so we're still working out the logistics of how best to fund that moving forward, and really get our arms around that. And so the other thing that you'll see, we've done our initial presentation to CIPC. I think we're gonna rework some of that as we kind of play with things and meet with departments again and talk things out. I think we need to, Mary and I are working on a strategy to determine whether or not it makes sense to recommend that the town move money and pay off the leases for the fire trucks early to get them out of the capital plan, because that's a $300,000 nut every year. Next year it'll be 200,000, but then it goes to 140. But we're talking years out, and if you're getting 800,000 from the capital override plus whatever your free cash is, that's a big hit right off of the top. It really eats away at what you're looking at. So I don't know that that'll be the final recommendation, but it's something that we're exploring, and we'll be talking to bond counsel about that and trying to figure out what the best strategy is there. It will be our goal moving forward to not put any leases in the capital plan as a recurring funding item, because it just eats up your ability to actually get your capital plan accomplished. The other thing we're looking at is, we buy pretty much a new DPW dump truck every year at $300,000. So that's another annual hit to the capital list. And it's necessary. I'm not saying that it's not frivolous spending by any means. But if you're talking about $800,000 is guaranteed towards capital, and we've just talked about 600,000 of that. That's already gone. So it doesn't leave you a lot to figure out how to, fix the rest of the stuff. So we're going to be talking about some strategies with that too. Whether they are things we can achieve in this year, or if they, really more impact following fiscal year, it's kind of early to tell. But we are looking at some strategies there. Otherwise, we have built up our capital reserve account pretty well. We moved some money around at some town meetings, and our free cash was a little disappointing, although not necessarily unexpected. So, we do have a pretty good pocket of money to play with in this year, and we're going to try to accomplish a lot in this upcoming fiscal year, which I'm pretty excited about.
So do you expect to be roughly in line with last year in terms of the capital program?
No, I think we'll spend more.
Okay.
Because we have more, and the way that things are falling, especially like I said with the school ADA program stuff and some of the school items that they've requested, it doesn't necessarily behoove us to be conservative, because I think you're going to get economy of scale by taking chunks.
Sure.
So again, and I use this example, and I haven't looked at any of their facility stuff in depth, but let's say you have a bathroom, bathrooms in every school need to be upgraded. Well, you're going to get a better price if you get a contractor to do all the bathrooms than you would if you did, I'm going to do all the ADA compliant stuff at one school, which is disparate, and you wind up needing a GC, and you got to do all this other stuff. So we're still conceptually talking through how to break that up, but I think that leads us to probably, throw a little bit more money at it this year.
I like the way you're thinking about that. And maybe we could coordinate some of that work that needs to happen in the schools with the municipal side of it as well.
Yeah.
If there's some synergies there, that makes sense.
Yep. And we'll continue to look at that, but that's kind of the overarching, I think, high level thoughts on what CIPC is looking like. And I'll, as we firm that up here, probably early December, we'll get back on an agenda for select board, and I can give you a real hard look at what we have on the list.
Great.
So.
Awesome.
Having watched that meeting, I appreciated, I don't want to call it a more conservative approach, but, really thinking about what needs to be on that capital improvement list versus what we could fund through additional grants elsewhere, or fundraising, things like that. So, I appreciated the focus that was being put into those things.
All right. If there's no more select board reports, we can go to town administrator reports.
So I attended CIPC.
Yeah.
I also attended waste reduction and recycling. We haven't met since then.
Should have mentioned that one too. Thanks for calling me out.
That's okay, Andy. I did point directly at you.
You left them.
So I was very happy to be invited to that. We spent a lot of time talking about kind of the underlying principles of the contract with Harvey. We talked a lot about ways to mitigate and try to work with residents on mitigating things entering the waste stream that just add to our tonnage. And so one of the things we talked about was, Anne Marie's composting idea, and, we're getting close on that, and some other kind of backyard composting that you could do, and some education about, your impurities rate, which is not called that, it's called something else, and I'm forgetting.
which is basically just, you know, gunk that gets in with the recycling,
yeah.
that then causes it to be diminished in value and cost you a lot of money.
We're at 16.8% with a goal of
0.5.
0.5%.
Yeah. So we're knocking on that door, which that's a typical American problem, right? It's not a Grafton specific thing, but I think we might be able to do some things around education. We talked about a lot about that and doing some kind of outreach and things about specifically about the contaminants in the waste stream, or in the recycling stream. So that was, I think, a very good meeting. I had a nice time. Thank you for inviting me.
If I could interrupt quickly, I would just like to say thank you for coming and attending. It was very beneficial for the entire committee to have you there, and we appreciate him splitting his time between us and CIPC that night.
Yeah, he did. It was a double header then.
That was a good one. So other things we have going on, you may have noticed we have some vacancies. So we've been really scrambling and working hard to fit as many interviews in as possible. We did make an offer to a town planner candidate. I don't have a response yet. I will take responsibility. We did not have a planning board member on the interview team. That was our original intent. We then decided we were going to split that into two, so we would vet candidates and then come back. I will tell you, and I will reach out to the planning board as well, that it is an extremely lean candidate pool. And so after our first round interviews, we decided that we had a very viable, very good candidate and did not want to lose them by going into the second phase of this. So I'll take the blame on that, but we just made an offer because I don't want to see that person go to another community. I think they're going to be a home run for us should they agree to come on. Contingent upon that person accepting, we also have an offer ready to go for the staff planner position. We were able to do those concurrently. We made an offer that was accepted for the treasurer collector's assistant. They then emailed us and backed out. So we're back to the drawing board on that, and we're currently working on the data collector in the assessor's office. So we have some candidates in that process as well. So I think we'll get somebody there too. So that's been really busy. A lot of us trying to mitigate, work through that. We're also starting this week negotiations with Grafton municipal employees. It's that time of year again, so we're getting that spun up. That's taken quite a bit of our time. We had our initial kickoff for our DE&I audit with the company that we selected, Peace in Action. So we did that via Zoom, and we really spent time. They spent time getting to know us and the community and kind of what our vision is for what we're trying to accomplish, and also what groups we should be targeting specifically. And so they are currently building a questionnaire based on our feedback for us to then take an initial pass through. And this is kind of the initial, as this would be the first outreach to staff and people on the school side of the house of let us know what you think the current status is in Grafton and what are we not doing well and what can we do better, and do you feel included, and questions along those lines. It was actually kind of interesting. We spent a lot of time talking about the difference between inclusion and equity, and you think that they're the same thing, and the way that they talked about them was very different. And so, as a person that has a degree in political science and spent a lot of time on that, I was very impressed at the way that they broke down the differences. So I'm excited to see how that plays out in our study. Because I think that a lot of the things that we do that we think is equity is really just, it's not equity. It's pretty interesting. So looking forward to that. I held my first office hours at the senior center. So now once a month I go sit in the senior center for an hour, and just people can come up to me as needed. I only had one resident that was looking to talk to me. But it was nice. We had a good time. There was a banjo player there when I got there, so that was pretty
Sweet.
cool. Yeah, had a good time. And I think that's the high level stuff. Do you have anything you think I'm missing, Will? We've been, I will tell you, we've been extremely busy, like just with regular stuff. Oh, we have our final PEC meeting coming up, in which we hope to make a decision where we will either entertain the proposals that we have currently for health insurance, or some kind of mid-year hybrid switch, or just everybody says stay where we are. But the concern that I have is that if we stay where we are, we're looking at probably a minimum increase of 8%. Which is, not unheard of in 2022, but when you're spending $5.5 million on insurance, 8%, that's a hit.
Yep.
So we're hoping to make some inroads there, and I will say that I'm very happy working with our current public employee committee. They've been really receptive, and we've been having great dialogue around this. They could just as easily be closed off and say, we hold a majority with just these two groups, and we're not going to talk about it.
Sure.
They've been great, so
Good.
So that's been good. And I think that's all that I have.
We met for ARPA.
Today. Oh yeah, sorry. You literally just said that to me 2 minutes ago.
Well, I was going to do it, but I asked you. I could have.
So we met for ARPA, and the basic consensus is we found we think a solution for, not a solution for mental health, a tool that we could implement for mental health, that has been done in other communities and school districts, and so we are going to get a demo of that that system. It's called Stop It. And essentially what it is 24/7 text-based access to mental health, right? So it's like a crisis based tool that will then align you with long-term resources. It does a lot of different things. So we're really interested in that. It seems like an economical way for us to spend some money and maybe have a pretty significant impact in the community. We had talked a lot of other ideas around mental health, but I'll tell you, for people that we're not mental health practitioners, and so a lot of it is very daunting to, we don't know how to hire a therapist and
Right.
do all of those things, and if we partner with somebody that adds cost, it's been a very long discussion, and I think that we've all given it a really good, thorough look to make sure we're doing something for the community. We talked about senior exercise equipment, and so we are getting some pricing around that. That was something that we had wanted to see as far as people being able to get out and exercise in public parks. We saw that as a big need during COVID, and so this would be something we think that aligns with that. We
Even just
also
adult use. Like
what did I say?
Senior.
I didn't mean to say senior. I meant
Yeah.
to say adult.
Anyone use just at a park. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So it's a pretty good idea, I think, and I'm looking forward to seeing us implement that. We also talked a little bit about moving, the senior center is in need of a minivan. So that is in our capital plan, but if we can shift that over to the ARPA funding, two things will happen. We can get our order in faster because you can't get a vehicle anywhere right now, especially in the municipal world. I think it would be a really nice way to use some of those funds to help senior outreach and get people to medical appointments and things that we saw was a huge need, that it exploded during COVID and it hasn't gone down really. So, I think those are the high level pieces. Yeah.
Where are we on heating assistance?
So, I approached Friends of Grafton Elders and asked them to put aside $20,000 so that we could have Lisa be a little bit faster to react to requests for assistance for seniors. They declined that request. They have changed some of the ways that they interact with Lisa, and Lisa was reporting to me today that the process is moving much more responsive and much faster, which is good. I was hoping to do the $20,000 because it helps to have a parameter to work within, so that you know who you can help and who you can't, and so you don't hit some arbitrary cap that we don't know is going to exist. So I have not reached out to the finance committee, which I plan on doing as well, and seeing if they feel that it's an appropriate use of some of our reserve fund. And other than that, that's kind of where we are right now. We've been talking, Mary Loria and I, about trying to create a long-term solution that the town could collect money throughout the year towards fuel assistance and build up a war chest, so to speak. But we're workshopping a lot of different things. So in the meantime, I'd like to try to get our hands on a pot of money through maybe finance committee, because I don't have anywhere else to. Really.
So how much money do we have now for heating assistance?
We have $0.
Zero.
Yeah.
So
all of it goes through SMOC.
And I know I brought this up before. We have the opera money that we can use. Take $50,000 of that opera money and put it towards heating assistance. I'm not sure why that wasn't discussed at the opera meeting, but heating assistance this year is gonna be crucial to a lot of people.
Okay.
So, I really think we need to do that.
I will say, Ray, that, the ARPA committee's been meeting, I feel like it's been a year now, or thereabouts, and, we did the survey many months ago, we did public outreach, etc., reached out to all the boards and committees in this building, or departments, I should say, well over 6 or 8 months ago. So, we formulated the list well before this time. We don't, with what we've somewhat earmarked to now, we probably don't have 50,000 left. We haven't spent obviously all of it yet, but we've have some ideas based on community feedback, strongly based on what we got in terms of feedback from the outreach meeting, in addition to the survey that we did. So it wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Colin.
I was just gonna say, the other thing is the ARPA committee submits a recommendation to us. So that if we wanna make an adjustment after we review the recommendation, that is still within our purview.
Well, I'm just saying, it's the mid-November, it's snowing out right now, and people have to heat their houses. And we need to come up with a solution, or come up with some money, or somehow come up with a fund so that we can help people.
So they do go through the SMOC program. So that's step one, and that's what we've been doing. We assist people get into SMOC, fuel assistance. And so the monies that we were looking for are either non-covered expenses, like your burner is malfunctioning, and then above and beyond, because we think that the SMOC funds are not going to go that far this winter because the cost of oil's through the roof. So the select board would be well within their purview if it wanted to allocate some funds out of ARPA to do that. I wouldn't start with 50. I would start with a smaller number, maybe 10 or 20, and you're well within your purview to do that. We can also request that out of FinCom.
Can I just ask a question about the Friends of the Grafton Elders? They said no to just a $20,000 chunk, but if Lisa or whoever went back and requested, hey, so-and-so needs this amount,
It's
it's
all
a
on the
case by
eaches
case.
now.
So
They're
that's another opportunity for
Yeah,
us
they
to
are
touch right
funding
there.
things. They just didn't like my idea of creating a kitty that we know is there and can monitor against. And, that's just the way I was taught to do things in
Right.
municipal budgeting classes. But
So just to raise point, there is assistance
yeah,
available.
people are getting assistance
Currently.
every day.
Immediately, yeah.
But those are only senior folk.
Right.
We don't currently have a program for
Right.
non-senior families.
Okay, and
Which
that's what you're.
Well, that's
yeah.
what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I mean, if you've got a quarter of a tank of oil, it's gonna cost you $1,200 to fill it up. How many families in this town, and I say that, but how many young families in this town have $1,200 to fill up their oil tank? We need to do something. We need to help in this situation. We have the money. Now, we can go to the finance committee, for a transfer, or we can take some of the opera money, or we can get, money someplace else. But we need to be able to help.
So do you wanna put this on the December 6th agenda for us to discuss taking a small amount of the ARPA money?
Yeah.
Do you feel more comfortable sending it to the committee first to let them deliberate it, or do you wanna just?
Forget when we meet next.
Well, no, I mean, that's, two members are sitting right here, so,
Yeah. It's not the whole committee.
well, but they can bring it up. You don't have to.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, thought we had a different plan, so.
I don't think we didn't schedule our next meeting because we're awaiting the consultant or the person from the Stop It to come to speak to us. So we haven't yet established a December meeting. I guess two questions, or one statement and one question. So if ARPA were to designate a certain amount, we already have a system in place in town in terms of vetting there's an application process note, so that we would have to create all of that in addition to.
I don't think that's a huge lift, but yeah, we don't have anything for
So someone to
non-senior population to.
take the accept applications, create application, accept it, and then vet them. So that would be one thing. Not that I'm trying to create a barrier. I'm just trying to sort out what we would need. And I think that, if it was a lower number, Ray, and not that I'm diminishing at all what is going on, but given that we've worked for a long time, also on this committee, and we've been very thoughtful with community input and whatnot, I think maybe like the 10 to 20 without.
Yeah, and so I think that.
Would be a little easier.
Just to be clear, I think that the board was within its right you could probably do it now. Because you call it an emergency, and I don't think that there's, any reason why you would argue that it is not. And so you could start with, say, $10,000, and that buys us time to get to finance committee and see if they will match it out of the reserve fund or give 20 out of the reserve fund. So now we're talking about a total of 30, or 20 out of ARPA and 20 out of FinCom. You could do any combination thereof.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we put it on the December 6th agenda?
Okay.
And not only discuss, where the money's gonna come from, how we're gonna get it, and how much we're gonna get, but also the process we're gonna use to hand out the money.
Okay. Would that be similar to like a tax abatement kind of thing? Is there a way to mirror some of that? Not
I
really.
think that's for
I
seniors.
would
is it?
think we would.
The abatement, is that just for seniors?
Let me.
But I'm saying mirror the.
I see, yeah.
Yeah, I think, you mean as far as submit the application, group votes to release it? What I would like to do is create some criteria, and then assign that to a staff member and give them the authority to, if the person meets the criteria, they just act. Because a lot of the people are going to be, if we get takers, and we see this with the senior population, they don't want to be doing it, so they call you at the last minute. They've got less than an eighth of a tank left.
Yeah.
And now they need some assistance, and you have to set some parameters there. So, you can do, 100 gallons. You can do 150 gallons. You can do things like that. That'll be more. It's more of an immediate assistance. Take some of the pressure off while the person then figures out what to do.
We had something in place for rental assistance. Couldn't it be similar?
I was just going to ask about during COVID, that Grafton Cares or whatever that something is that I know that people
Yeah,
donated
I don't
to.
know what, I wasn't here for that.
Do we still have an account, do you know, somewhere? Because I thought that we still had money in there.
So I know a Grafton Strong account
Maybe
was
that's it.
created,
Yeah.
and I don't know if
I
any.
don't think there's money in that
Money,
account.
yeah,
That came up at one of our accounting meetings, but I can double check.
And then whether or not they had created a system at the time, I seem to remember where folks would be able to apply for that money.
So I know that there was kind of money put aside, but there weren't a lot of, because it was if I'm remembering correctly, it was
Rental assistant or home assistant.
it was just a difficult
Mortgage
process.
assistant.
So and a lot of people either didn't understand it or didn't take advantage of it. So that's the other thing. You don't want to make this process too difficult. At the same time, you don't want to have a run on assistance and people who need it get nudged out either. So that's difficult to say. Let's create a criteria and let's do it by December 6th. It might be really heavy lift, but we can at least try, right?
Yeah. So we've got. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, that rental assistance, we used a company to administer that program. I will say that it was fairly expensive, but it's possible to do that. So that's an option for sure. And particularly if we see this being a multi-year thing, that maybe we want to do it for the next couple of 3 years if, the economic conditions haven't changed it might be worth looking into that, so that we're not putting that onto staff and having a whole nother operation be run from the municipal center.
And I don't want to diminish all the hard work ARPA has done either. So I understand there's an urgency to get this done, but you know, it would be nice to get some of their input as well, because they have been working really hard, and this is a total curveball towards them as well. But I understand the urgency as well, so it's tough.
Noted.
All right, any other questions or comments? Okay, we can go on to correspondence. And there was at least one correspondence I wanted to call out, that the Sierra Club of Massachusetts will be holding a climate leadership summit this Saturday, November 19th from 12:30 to 3:30 at the Haverhill Public Library. If you want more information, you can go into the select board meeting packet, and there's a whole invitation and a bunch of stuff on there to read about it. Anybody else have any other correspondence they want to talk about? Okay. And we have a couple of resignations.
I move the board vote to acknowledge and accept the resignation of Stephen Lucier as an election worker for the town of Grafton.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried.
I move the board vote to acknowledge and accept the resignation of Alicia Bergeron from the Grafton Conservation Commission.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried.
I move the board vote to acknowledge and accept the resignation of Justin Souza from the as the Veteran Service Officer for the town of Grafton.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, he's been with us for a while, and he's great. And I just want to recognize the time he's spent with us, taking care of Grafton's veterans. It's an important, very important role, and he's done an admirable job. So I just want to thank him for that.
Agreed. Okay, so motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. There's nobody here for public comment. Is there anybody on Zoom?
We have no hands.
Excellent. All right, and now we just have a set of meeting minutes to approve.
I move the board vote to approve the meeting minutes for November 1, 2022 as written.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. We have no reason to go into executive session, so I can take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Good night, everybody.